Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this: nightmare. Jamie Carragher's situation is getting closer for Liverpool amid nervous wait. After 3 straight defeats, it felt like the international break came at a good time for Liverpool. As the Reds begin to report back to Merseyside, though, Arne Slot's nightmare might just be starting. Having fallen behind Arsenal in the early stages of the Premier League title race, the Liverpool boss will be desperate to get back to winning ways against Manchester United on Sunday. This is uncharted territory for Slot, for whom, up until a couple of weeks ago, everything he touched seemed to turn to gold. The pressure is on for him to find a way for the Reds' expensive new side to gel together. But injuries are making that job a lot harder. Already without Giovanni Leone for the rest of the season, and Alisson Becker looking set to miss at least a few more games. Now the Liverpool boss faces a nervous wait to find out the full extent of problems for 3 more of his players. Ibrahima Konaté's early return from the French squad certainly wasn't too promising a sign, and neither was Ryan Gravenberch coming off at halftime of the Netherlands' win over Finland on Sunday. The pair would be a big miss for Liverpool if they had to sit out the United game. But with doubts over Wataru Endo as well, there is a bigger problem emerging. If Konaté is out, then that would mean Joe Gomez stepping in alongside Virgil van Dijk at the heart of the defense. If either of them pick up an injury, then what? Slot had named Gravenberch and Endo as possible alternatives to step into the back 4. But if they're also out of the picture, then Liverpool will be in a situation that Jamie Carragher has feared since the summer. Speaking about the Reds' failure to sign Marc Guéhi, the former defender said on Stick to Football, "Liverpool always do what they see in their eyes as value for money. Might they regret that?" Oh yeah, I think there's one situation with Liverpool. That's the one area. Listen, they are 3 games in, 9 points from 9, and probably not played that well, so we would probably all say they are big favorites, Liverpool. But that is the one area where that could come back and blow up in their face, because they haven't really got that cover. What Guéhi was giving Liverpool competition at center back. They haven't really got that. They've got 2 starters and 2 understudies. Joe Gomez, injury-prone himself, and the young lad from Italy, Leone. He is going to be a great prospect, but if you think if one of them had to play for a couple of months, it is a big difference. Slot and Liverpool will hope that Konaté's injury doesn't lead to Gomez having to be relied upon for that long. If the last few years are anything to go by, it would be a big risk if the England international has to stay injury-free until at least January. It's a prospect that would be made all the scarier if Gravenberch and Endo can't even be called upon as backups. Beyond them, Liverpool would likely have to call upon one of Andy Robertson or Connor Bradley to fill in, or call up some of the Academy's players. Slot and his team will be keeping their fingers crossed for some good news on Konaté, Gravenberch, and Endo before Sunday's game. Liverpool could really do with something going its way at the moment. Alexander Isak faces worrying transfer curse Liverpool striker must overcome. With hefty price tags come lofty expectations, but in the Premier League, the priciest players often fail to secure the ultimate prize. No top-tier club splashes out record-breaking sums just to settle for 2nd or 3rd place. However, in recent years, some of the most expensive transfers have not propelled their clubs to the pinnacle of English football. Liverpool set a British record transfer when they signed Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen last summer. Just weeks later, they broke their own record by bringing Alexander Isak over from Newcastle for a whopping $166.8 million. The Swedish striker, considered one of the best in the world, now faces immense pressure to keep Liverpool at the top of the league. But recent history suggests that the costliest signings rarely deliver the title. In fact, if you look at the 10 most expensive transfers to an English team, only 2 players have a Premier League winners' medal, and even they didn't quite live up to expectations. These 2 are Jack Grealish and Darwin Núñez. Grealish, the former Aston Villa star, has 3 titles under his belt, but few would argue that he has justified his $133.45 million fee since moving to Manchester City. Núñez left Liverpool last summer, 3 years after his frustrating 113.4M switch from Benfica, which was more disappointing than successful, Isak is striving to be more of a success than a disappointment. He joined a team that was a well-oiled machine last season, but has struggled in the early stages of this campaign. Already, Arne Slot is trying to figure out how to get the best from the Swedish player, with much debate over how to utilize him and the plethora of quality players in Liverpool's heavily stocked attack. Isak, and initially Wirtz, surpassed the British record transfer fee previously held by Enzo Fernandez. The Argentine moved from Benfica to Chelsea just months after becoming a World Cup winner. In Qatar, he was named the best young player at the tournament, immediately attracting significant attention. Fernandez made his move to Stamford Bridge in January 2023 for a then-record 140 malheurs. So far, he only has a Europa Conference League and a Club World Cup to his name. His teammate Moises Caicedo joined only a few months later for 133.4 meters. At the time, he signed a deal that had the potential to rise to 153.4 meters, which was a record fee. He has formed an impressive partnership with Fernandez in midfield, but the two men have yet to make Chelsea title contenders. One man who has proved to be a massive success is Declan Rice. After impressing for years at West Ham, he moved to Arsenal with the Gunners investing 133.4, potentially rising to 140 millers with add-ons. The England midfielder is now considered one of the best in the league in his position. He's had some brilliant moments with the North London club, but the coveted title remains elusive. In his 2-year stint with Arsenal, they've finished second twice. Although they currently sit at the top of the league in this early stage of the season, rewind to 2021, when Roman Abramovich was still green-lighting major deals for Chelsea, a record-breaking 130 millers was splashed out to bring Romelu Lukaku back from Inter Milan. He was viewed as the forward who could propel Thomas Tuchel's team to championship glory. His debut saw him find the back of the net, and the initial signs were promising, but his form soon dipped, leading to public criticism from his manager. The Belgian later moved on to Napoli, where he clinched another Serie A title, but the English title remained out of his grasp. Paul Pogba briefly held the title of the world's priciest player when he returned to Manchester United. He was Jose Mourinho's headline signing upon his arrival at Old Trafford in 2016. However, the Frenchman's relationship with the Red Devils was far from harmonious. He secured 2 trophies in his inaugural season in Manchester, but then endured a 5-year trophy drought before leaving on a free transfer. Antony's 2022 move from Ajax is considered one of the biggest flops in top-flight history, and certainly an expensive one. It goes without saying that he and United never came close to securing the Premier League title. Liverpool news and transfers live. Ryan Gravenberch scare. Ibrahima Konate injury, Guehi latest. Arne Slot will be hoping the remainder of his players make it through the remainder of the international break unscathed, with the Liverpool boss already having been dealt a fresh concern ahead of next week's return against Manchester United. Having revealed Ibrahima Konate was carrying a thigh problem against Chelsea last weekend, Slot now has to manage the defender carefully after he returned from international duty with France early. Konate didn't feature at all against Azerbaijan on Friday, having trained away from the rest of his teammates during the week. And Didier Deschamps has decided against taking him to Iceland for today's game, raising concerns about his fitness. It hasn't been a great international break for a lot of Liverpool's players so far, with Alexander Isak's Sweden looking set to miss out on a place at next year's World Cup after a defeat to Switzerland, while Connor Bradley will be suspended for Northern Ireland's crucial qualifier against Germany. Cody Gakpo and Virgil van Dijk, though both scored for the Netherlands on Sunday as they beat Finland 4-0 in Amsterdam. Another blow for Isak. Alexander Isak fired another blank as the Liverpool striker suffered yet another defeat with Sweden. With his country's World Cup dreams now in serious danger, Isak played the full 90 minutes against Kosovo. But despite starting alongside Arsenal striker Viktor Gyökeres, Sweden couldn't find a goal for the 3rd time in their 4 World Cup qualifiers. The defeat leaves Sweden bottom of its group. Having picked up just 1 point so far and with only 2 games remaining, its hopes of qualifying directly for next year's tournament are over. It can still finish second in its group to advance to the playoffs, although that would rely on Kosovo not picking up a single point from its remaining 2 games. Its best chance then lies in reaching the playoffs via its Nations League finish. As things stand, Sweden would go through as one of the 4 best-ranked group winners, although that route could also be closed off depending on other countries. Wirtz just made next Liverpool steps clear. It was another frustrating night for Florian Wirtz, although Germany did strengthen its hopes of qualifying for next year's World Cup with a 1-0 win over Northern Ireland. The Liverpool star didn't have a particularly great night, leaving yet more questions about how the Reds can get the best out of him. He did, though, make his preference clear about his position, which may well convince Arne Slot to revive a previously abandoned plan. Read more about Wirtz's performance here. Gravenberch to be assessed. Ryan Gravenberch will be assessed after being substituted at halftime for the Netherlands last night, according to the Athletic Dutch. Boss Ronald Koeman revealed afterwards that Gravenberch had been experiencing discomfort in his hamstring and was taken off as a precaution. The midfielder has since downplayed the problem, although he will now be checked over before Liverpool's game against Manchester United on Sunday. Mac Allister set for Argentina start Alexis Mac. Allister is expected to start for Argentina in its friendly against Puerto Rico this week, despite concerns over his form and fitness over the LSAT few months. Mac Allister missed the final few games of last season due to an injury, and also did not figure in either of Liverpool's first 2 preseason games. He is yet to complete 90 minutes for the Reds this term, and only came on as a substitute in Argentina's game against Venezuela last week. The game against Puerto Rico kicks off at 1 a.m. BST on Wednesday, 8 p.m. ET, 5 p.m. PT on Tuesday, and Mac Allister's involvement in the game might concern Arne Slot and some supporters, considering the long flight time and short turnaround between the Argentina game and Liverpool's clash with Manchester United on Sunday. Gravenberch. Concern Ryan Gravenberch has presented Liverpool and Arne Slot with a new injury worry before the team's Premier League encounter with Manchester United after helping propel the Netherlands closer to World Cup qualification. Gravenberch was withdrawn at the interval as the Dutch cruised to a 4-0 victory over Finland on Sunday to stay atop their qualifying group. Netherlands manager Ronald Koeman subsequently disclosed that the Reds midfielder had been replaced by Manchester City's Tijani Reinders due to a muscular complaint, stating, "Ryan indicated he had some minor hamstring problems. Of course, we didn't take any risks with that." Following the match, Gravenberch explained his absence from the second period. "It was partly fitness-related. The season is long, so it was a precaution. I'm feeling good, and I have the coach's confidence." Florian Wirtz told reason he has struggled at Liverpool, his biggest issue. Danny Murphy has detailed the reason he believes Florian Wirtz has struggled to show his best for Liverpool since his summer transfer. Liverpool spent $116 million to sign Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen earlier this summer. Wirtz is yet to score or provide an assist for Liverpool since the Community Shield clash with Crystal Palace over 2 months ago, when he set up Hugo Ekitike for the opening goal at Wembley. He has been deployed as both a number 10 and on the wing, but his performances on Merseyside have sparked debate. Speaking to Wet Basis, the former Liverpool midfielder Murphy said, talking about the Wirtz subject, one week he's playing with Ekitike and 1 week he's playing with Isak. The wide player doesn't change on the right, but it does a bit on the left. He's also had a mixture of midfield partnerships behind him, and when you're a number 10, you start building up relationships with the midfielders. Who's going to give me the ball early? Who can I trust and rely on to get me the ball early? If we talk about Wirtz, for example. So he's got to adapt to this amazing physicality of going to play in Newcastle or playing against Arsenal, these 2 physically powerful teams, and adapt really quickly. In addition to that, adapt to the expectations and pressure of the supporters and the media of what he is supposed to deliver. I've seen enough of the brilliant moments from Wirtz to not be concerned. The talent, the vision, the skill set he has is there for us all to see. I think his biggest issue is his adaptation to the speed of the Premier League, and I know from personal experience That only comes from playing, getting your mind and your body used to that. Wirtz has created more chances than anyone else in the team, and Murphy added, I don't think it's a tactical or positional thing. I think he's found himself in great positions many times. There's a stat that came out the day before the weekend's fixtures that in all competitions, he's created more chances than anyone else. Even when you look at the Chelsea game, we're not talking about Wirtz positively or Liverpool positively, but his first touch when he came on was this incredible pass to Mohamed Salah. 9 out of 10 times, Salah scores that. Had he done that, Liverpool might have won the game and we would have been talking about Wirtz's brilliance. Even against Everton, he put it on a plate for Salah, who missed, and for Jeremy Frimpong, who kicked fresh air. Liverpool. Target gives stance on transfer as rivals hope for. Revenge after furious summer. Battle. Nico Schlotterbeck declined to comment amid reports of interest from Bayern Munich. Bundesliga leaders Bayern have been heavily linked with the Germany international as they brace for a second summer battling it out with Liverpool for a transfer target. Schlotterbeck, a centre-back, has been linked with a move away from Borussia Dortmund next summer, with his current deal expiring in 2027. Liverpool and Bayern could end up going head-to-head, just as they did in June when his Germany teammate Florian Wirtz left Bayer Leverkusen. Liverpool won the race for Wirtz. With Bayern unable to match the Reds' 9-figure bid, Schlotterbeck would be considerably cheaper, but he wouldn't be drawn on his next move, saying, I can't really say anything about that, when quizzed about a move to Bavaria. Speaking ahead of Germany's World Cup qualifier against Northern Ireland, the defender admitted he was previously close to joining Bayern when current national team boss Julian Nagelsmann was in charge. Yes, apparently not close enough, he told reporters via Bild. Working with Nagelsmann is easy, he added, because he tells me what he wants. The player tries to implement it. I always try to do my best. And he also accompanied me during my rehab for a long time, always asking how I was doing. The appreciation is great, on both sides. I'm happy that he's putting so much trust in me these days. Schlotterbeck, who recently returned from a meniscus tear, played 45 minutes against Luxembourg on Friday as Germany boosted their World Cup qualification bid. Liverpool star Wirtz played the full 90 against Luxembourg, having scored in a 3-1 win over Northern Ireland in September. That goal remains his only competitive strike since moving to Anfield, in a move which attracted frustration from those of a Bayern persuasion. I have to say honestly, in the case of Florian Wirtz, it still hurts. I feel sorry for him because I believe the player would have been better off at Bayern than at Liverpool, former Bayern CEO Karl-Heinz Rummenigge said. His comments came after Uli Hoeneß, a former Bayern player and member of the club's supervisory board, pointed to an inability to compete with Liverpool's spending power. Of course, we would have liked to have Florian Wirtz, but we'd never have bought him for $150 million, $130 million, Hoeneß said in September. Bayern and Liverpool both have a lot of football to play between now and next summer. By the time that moment arrives, though, Schlotterbeck might be ready to decide whether to make the same move as his compatriot. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.